Well, I mean, this happened 35 years ago, right? And there's a trail of lies, half-truths, deception by not telling us stuff that goes right through this thing from beginning to end. I mean, there are so many examples of it that honestly, I don't want to even talk about it. I've had so much of it in my life. I don't want to dig into, it's like it hurts. Southern Investigations and the News of the World had a long and very close relationship, and a criminal relationship, basically. Southern Investigations was selling illegally obtained information to the News of the World. Southern Investigations was involved in brokering they were working on a political level as well, in that they were involved in the brokering of the material from Paddy Ashdown's safe, which was stolen from his safe in, I think this was the 93 election or something like that. There were fears that there was going to be a Lib-Lab coalition to defeat the Tories, and suddenly Paddy Ashdown's safe is robbed, and evidence of an affair that he was having is out there, and Southern Investigations were involved in brokering that information to the press, if you like. They were involved in the David Mellor case. So they were working on a high level politically, if you like, for Murdoch. And, his malign influence on British politics. After the inquest, which took place in 1988, it took me 7 years or 6 years to get a mainstream newspaper to even write about the case. Now, I knew that an outside inquiry by Hampshire police was a cover-up. I knew it was because of the things that they hadn't done. But to get anybody interested in that, apart from The Guardian, ultimately, I think it was 94 or something like that, they wrote about it. Nobody was interested. And that was, with the mainstream press, that was a continuing theme for decades and decades. Television, on the other hand, there were outlets and media companies that were willing to have a look at it, and I was very grateful for that. But the press, that's another story. Apart from The Guardian, which would do bits sporadically, there was nobody who was interested in it. Oh, and the Mail. The Mail did some pieces on it, but compared with the Stephen Lawrence case, minimal. I can really only point the finger at the News of the World in that respect, but they interfered. They put the lead investigator, the senior investigating officer, and his family under surveillance during an investigation, I think the fourth investigation in 2002, and the suspects found out about the start of the fifth investigation, which was supposed to be extremely secret. They found out about it before we did, through a leak from the what's called the inner sanctum of Scotland Yard, the very, very top echelons of Scotland Yard. There was a leak before the fifth investigation, which via a newspaper, via the News of the World, via a News of the World journalist, went back to the suspects. So they knew that the fifth investigation was going to start before even we did, We started looking for a judicial inquiry back in 2004. That's God knows how long, 17, 18 years ago now. But the political establishment at that time, the New Labour's Home Office, were absolutely not interested. They didn't. In fact, I didn't even get to see the Home Secretary. I got to see the Minister for Policing, because a woman called Hazel Blears, and no, they just weren't interested. They just believed the police, who were lying to them. And it was impossible to get through to them that they were being lied to by the police about the quality of the investigations and et cetera, And these lies persisted right up until 2000, until last year when the report came out. But they were able to lie, and it was just impossible for us to get through to them. In 2011, the prosecution against the suspects was dropped because of the weight of police corruption in the case. Really, it had been so fouled up by corruption over the years that I suppose you could, in shorthand, it was the weight of previous police corruption and incompetence that the case collapsed. Endless lobbying, lobbying the media to put pressure on the police. The legal routes we were trying. The police did not want this, for obvious reasons. Well, because they never want to clean up their act. They're all, the whole conclusion of the report really basically was that the police were much more concerned about their reputation than doing a good job or hide it, and then, the issues of police involvement in the murder and all that kind of stuff. It was just a nightmare. An absolute nightmare getting the authorities to listen, But in fact, I took a year, an entire year, I think it was, in 2011, 2012. I did nothing but Twitter, which is a very good lobbying, a very good public awareness tool. Twitter and persuading journalists to write about it. And there were, literally I spent a whole year non-stop doing nothing but that. I would like to say, I suppose, that the lying and corruption that I encountered 35 years ago has now permeated right through our political culture. I think everyone, anyone who's got eyes and ears can see that lying has penetrated right to the top of our culture, our parliamentary culture. And, I look back on all the effort and all the time I spent, and I'm pleased that I did what I did. I would not ever have that undone. But when you look at the police, institutional corruption in the police. We've got it's racism and misogyny and sexism in the fire service. It's been tolerated and kept under wraps for so long and now it's kind of exploding, if you like. Because, you can't press something down for decades and decades, and finally the cork is going to pop out and it's going to overflow.